Well, he's low and he's only in one, but I hear you guys loud
In
enough
both.
in both
Oh,
headphones.
wow.
So
Interesting.
I was
Wow.
going to replace him, but I guess I don't need to. I just maybe not talk to Alan. I don't know.
Well, let's go over what we got going on tonight. We've got a kind of joint weekend review we're gonna do. This is which will be interesting and fun. What you doing?
Sorry.
Yeah, you look beautiful.
Thank
Hey,
you. Thank you.
everything's in place.
Look.
We're gonna do that. Let's see. After that, we're gonna do bios of our guests, and
Hmm.
I will do Miss Shauna. You can do Miss Allison. Victoria, we'll do that, and get our break in, and Ruth will get us started. We got a good man. We got a good book to talk about tonight.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
This one will be easy. It's always good when we can say get the book and mean get the book. So
Yes.
we priming and prepping to make that statement tonight.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be wonderful, wonderful. And I'm excited too about our weekend review. We don't usually do a joint weekend review. I know Ruth has something in particular that she wants to share with us.
Milestone. It's a milestone as a parent. Yep.
Uh, we'll see how that goes. I don't know that I have anything at the when we get ready to start. I don't know. I usually don't think I have anything and then end
Oh,
up
we always find something to talk about. That's all.
yes.
Uh-huh.
So
We could always talk. That's one thing about us.
we will get that together and let me see. I don't think I have anything. I don't think I have anything
All
else.
right, everybody, are we ready?
Yeah,
Yes.
We're ready.
we
All right,
certainly are. So let's go.
let's do it. Talk to you later.
Well, good evening. Hello, hello. We're back, Miss Victoria, Queen Victoria.
I love music. It
Good
takes me
evening.
someplace.
Welcome welcome to the craziness of when life speaks of authors up. This is gonna be a wild Sunday, but it's gonna be a good one. And I'm so glad that those who are joining us are coming in. Hey there, Miss Linda Cooks. Glad to have you with us tonight here on Authors Up. I'm, of course, Andrea L. Hines. We got Ruth E. Griffin and Victoria E. Henderson, co-hosts, and we are excited about the program that we have tonight. Hey, Christina. Good evening to you. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. We got a special night. I keep saying that because this is kind of different for us, the way that things are going to go tonight, because we are talking about a book that has co-authors, and we don't always get to
Yes.
do that. So we've done it with some of our children's books, but never with a book like this. So we are really, really excited to do that. Hey, Francina, good evening to you. Welcome to Authors Up tonight. And we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start a little differently. We usually have our individual week in review, but tonight is kind of a collaborative effort because we were all together and at one point doing something, and then we are participating in the journaling challenge that we've got. But Ruth got a little something, little something, something. Come on, Ruth. What you got?
So, my daughter is in her last year of college. She's up in Virginia, and this weekend she came by and brought her boyfriend over for us to meet. I know, right? It's a milestone. So it's yeah, I'm not
Meet
going
the
to embarrass
parents.
anybody. I'm not going to embarrass anybody, but he was a very, very nice young man, and mom and dad approve, 100%.
All
That's
So,
right. Meet the
yes,
parents now.
yeah.
He had to be special for her to bring him home, right?
I think it was more guilt because she called us. She texted us like a few weeks ago, and she was like, "Well," she's like, "Are you guys open? Are you guys available this week?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What's going on?" She's like, "Well, I was thinking maybe I should bring him by." And I'm like, "Well, what's for this on?" She's like, "Well, I've already met his mom like 3 times." So I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was guilt. It was guilt. And he kept saying, because we took him to church with us this morning, and he kept saying, "Oh, it's so nice to finally meet you. So nice to finally meet you." And I'm like, it was,
Oh,
yeah, it was
that's
about
so
time.
nice.
Yeah.
He sounds
So
like a good guy. He's a
he
cutie.
was,
I
yeah,
got
he is,
I
he
just,
is.
I just want to cry, though. I just want to cry. I just want
Yes, and that's my baby. That's my baby. 2 almost 23 years
to
old. Yep.
Victoria. I'm trying to find a category that won't make you cry, and I
There is none.
cannot. I cannot find one.
There
But I'm
is
gonna
none.
keep looking. I'm gonna keep looking. You didn't have a special thing that you wanted to chat about. So I'm going to. I didn't have anything special either. Like I said, one of the special things that kind of came into our weekend review, and I don't know that we talked about it much
I don't
last.
think so. We did not.
But
Mhm.
Paula Obi, our winner of our From Concept to Completion contest, had her book signing last week, and it was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
was
it was.
really, really wonderful. We had a great, she had a great turnout.
Yeah.
She, of course, was signing books, and we were eating food, and she had an opportunity to share some things about her writing journey and everything. And it was her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it was her. Just exquisite colors, the decorations. I mean, from top to bottom,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
beautiful afternoon. So we were all there to support her, as we have supported her through her entire writing journey. So we were glad to do that, glad to be there, and she gave us special gifts and things that we
Yeah.
will keep and remember forever, because it was just good.
Right.
It was really, really good. But
I agree.
Monday we started something else. Hey, Angie. Oh, good to have you tonight. Glad to have you. And Angie's a part of what we got started on Monday. We started our journaling challenge. There were some
Mm-hmm.
people who had expressed an interest in journaling and said, I want to do it, but I don't know how to start, and I don't think I'll finish, and I don't do it all the time, and blah blah blah. So we decided to come up with a journaling challenge and have some different components that would allow those who wanted to participate just a little push and some inspiration and things like that. Talk a little bit about it, Ruth, because you did some phenomenal stuff last week to help with the challenge. I really liked what you did. What'd you do?
Yes.
So we sent out, because I mean, it's getting started on any new adventure always needs a little extra push, a little extra encouragement. So that's what we did. We put some graphics together, put an email together, and every day our participants got a little morning push. Say, hey, you can do it today. You can journal today. And that oftentimes that's life. You get started, you jump out of bed 5 minutes later than you intended to. You're sitting in traffic longer, and that journaling goes by the wayside. But really, the reason it's 4 weeks is to get you in that habit. And if you're able to do it every day, you got it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have any of those quotes?
Not on
Okay.
me at the moment,
Okay.
but we were able to. So, I mean, you guys put some quotes together. We were able to find. You guys know how much I love quotes. I will find
Yes.
something in a
You found such
heartbeat.
good ones. I
Yes.
like the ones that you found. So somewhere in the show, if you happen to stumble upon
Okay. Okay.
and can share a couple with us before we get off the air, that would be
Sure.
nice. But who did we have participating?
We had some of our usuals, Miss Linda and Angela and Leah. We had a young lady that we met at Paula's signing, and she joined us for the show and just said, "Hey, I want to join in on the challenge as
Awesome.
well."
Great.
So, and we've had
Oh,
some good engagement during the week. Several folks, emailed back and said, "Hey, thanks for the encouragement. This is what I did today." So I think overall, it was a good first week.
Yeah, I think it was, and the dates went from the 20th
February,
of February, and I think it goes through the 19th.
yes, of March.
The 19th of March. So, we want to keep at it and keep going strong. And I did it was easier than I thought. And it
mhm.
was easier than I thought because of what Ruth had prepped us with in the beginning, which was understanding the different types of journaling.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was able to kind of mix and match what I was doing. I did some list journaling, and I did some kind of what's on your mind journaling, and I did some prayer journaling as well.
Mhm.
So I was able to to cover, and I was glad about that, and I kind of look forward to the quotes in the morning
Oh,
to
good.
get that extra push. So we thank you for that. Thank
You're
you.
I,
welcome.
I like the quotes too, and I thank you, Ruth. And I told you too. I liked how you did them and how you sent them out. And I found myself saving them. I said I'm going to send them out on our Authors Up page too because it's really nice, and I think it's
Mhm.
really really good thoughts and quotes to just encourage people writing in general. And
Yes.
I did some I've been thinking about this today, and then I did some. Dear God, I'm thinking about this, and I got to do this today. So I think ended up doing maybe about 3 different kinds of journaling, the way we talked about as well. It wasn't just one kind.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that was different for me.
I liked having that choice, and I think the folks who participated kind of liked it too. So that
Mhm.
was a good thing. That was a good thing, and that's kind
Yeah.
of where we were last week. You got something else, Ruth?
Yeah, I was going to say if we have any listeners now who would like to join in, we
Okay.
don't have
Never
to
too
start
late.
with everybody. Yes. So just shoot us an email so I can add you to the distribution list, and we'll go from there. Authors up
Send
at gmail.com.
send to authorsup@gmail.com.
Yeah.
and that will be great. And that what was going on with the week.
Mhm.
And now we're going to talk about what's going on tonight. And we have 2 beautiful authors with us who have written an amazing, and when I say amazing, I mean an amazing book. And I'm going to talk to you about one, and Victoria is going to talk to you about our other author. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Shauna Jones Edwards. She's a former corporate lawyer, now working in diversity, equity, and inclusion and talent management for an international law firm. She has a BA in literature from Harvard College and a JD from NYU School of Law. She is a native Louisianian. I hope I got it right. Raised in New Orleans and currently lives in Harlem with her husband. And The Thread Collectors is her first novel.
All right. Now, Allison Richmond is the USA Today and #1 international best-selling author of several historical novels, including The Velvet Hours, The Garden of Letters, and then The Lost Wife. And that one is currently in development for a major motion picture. I'm looking forward to that.
Congratulations.
Allison graduated from Wellesley College with a degree in art history and Japanese studies. Wow. She's going to talk some Japanese for us.
Yeah.
She is an accomplished painter, and her novels actually combine her deep love of art, historical research, and travel. Allison's novels have been published in 25 languages and have reached bestseller lists both in the United States and abroad. She currently lives in Long Island with her husband and 2 children, where she is at work on her next novel. I really am excited for these authors as well. Love the book. So after we have a break, we'll be right back with our authors of The Thread Collectors.
All
Boy, we
right.
got a full house tonight. Welcome, Shauna, and welcome, Allison.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, well, we are happy to have you on there. We had the opportunity to sit at a local signing, and we were just awed by your book, by your presentation, your collaboration, and we are just happy that you took our invitation and decided to come on our show.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome. So normally we just have one author, we go back and forth. You guys can decide who answers what or what in that order. I'll let you do that, unless we have a specific question for you. But why don't you tell us about your book, The Thread Collectors?
Sure. Well, I'm happy to jump in. So in The Thread Collectors, you're going to meet 2 couples, a Black couple and a Jewish couple. The Black couple is comprised of Stella. She is living in New Orleans. She is enslaved, and she is secretly making embroidered maps to help enslaved men flee to join the Union Army. She's in love with William. He is a brilliant flute player, and he decides he's going to get up, he's going to run, right? He runs to join the Union Army. And on the battlefield, he meets Jacob Kling, and Jacob is a Jewish soldier, also a great musician, and these men become friends. Jacob's been encouraged to join the Union Army by his fiery abolitionist wife, Lily. She's up in New York, and she's doing some sewing of her own. She is in a quilting circle, and they're selling the quilts to fund the Union Army cause, and they're also sending the quilts down south for comfort. So we have these 4 characters whose lives intertwine, but it's really these 2 musicians, the 2 men's friendship, even though they come from different faiths, different backgrounds, different heritages, different races, that really opens up the novel.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, the way you described that, I feel like there's a little bit of Allison and Shauna in there as well. So how did you
How did we
decide you were
meet?
going to work together as well?
Well, Shauna and I have been friends for over a decade. And the first time I met Shauna, it was actually in Las Vegas. We met online at a cocktail reception. And it was, I was letting every man cut in front of me. And he came over and said, "Why are you letting every man cut in front of you? And I like your dress." And basically, as soon as we met, it was this instant, like, Shauna pointing out the, some sort of social injustice, and then our mutual sort of love of pretty things, which I think if you look at the Thread Collectors in a funny way, there's like those things. We have the threads of the dresses, and then we also have the injustice of what's happening historically at that time in the fight for freedom. But on that first time I met Shauna, and she realized that I wasn't an attorney because it was a corporate attorney reception. I'm married to an attorney. She revealed that she had been, a literature major at college, and that she always dreamt of writing a novel. And, I was already probably had written 4 novels at that time. And so in our friendship, that sort of, from that moment we met, we had this bond of books, of this, love of literature. And, flash forward into 2020, and we basically came together to write something in a time when the world felt so fragile from COVID, but also so broken of what happened, everyone witnessing the brutal murder of George Floyd, and this reckoning of, we were at a very broken, fractured time in America, and this reckoning to do something, pulling from our roots and our heritages to make something beautiful, where yes, you could read it and say there's a little of Shauna and there's a little of Allison, and there's a whole lot of history, but it would become a book that was a testament to friendship and finding light in darkness. I think that's really the crux of what this book is about. And I love it, Ruth, that you said that you see a little of us in it, because I think there's probably a lot of us in it, even though say it takes place, over 100 years ago. But it's a very personal book for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the and this was part of what drew me to the book itself, was your collaboration with it. It is, I'm not going to say it's not often that we see, two women, two different backgrounds, two different voices. You have a woman of color and a woman not. So it's just, how do you collaborate? How do you decide who says what? How where the story goes? How did that work for you?
Absolutely. So I think some people can look at the book and assume that I wrote all of the Black characters and then Allison wrote all the white Jewish characters, but that is not the way we wanted to do it. I think from our very first writing day, which happened to be on Juneteenth, that was the first day I had off from work, but it turns out to be like a really poignant day when we
Yeah.
look back at the writing process. We decided that if our intent was to build something, to build bridges, to really explore these journeys and our heritages and also learn something ourselves through the process, we needed to basically write every word together,
Yeah.
which we did, so every Sunday night, round about a little bit earlier than this, but we go on a couple hours. So we're used to being together on a Sunday night. We would sit together and we would dream of what would happen over the next 2 to 3 chapters.
Wow.
And then I have a day job. Allison, she is a full-time successful author. She would take the first pass, and she beautifully describes it based on her art background as like a wire armature. If you're a sculptor, she would put something together and she put a layer of clay on it. We used a Google Doc. Neither one of us is very technology driven. So we say Google Doc like it's like this magical thing. And people are like, yeah, it's just a Google Doc, calm down. But we use a Google Doc, and then she would call me and she would say it's up. And then I would go in and I would embellish and embroider. Then she would do some more. And that way we would come together and shape the story. But the other great thing about the Google Doc is even when we couldn't be together, we could have a conversation and we could leave notes. So there are undoubtedly going to be times where we're seeing things through a different lens, right? You read words differently depending on your heritage and how those words have been used for or against you. And we really did promise each other that we would take the time to have the difficult conversations about words, about character development, about things that might be read stereotypically when we wanted to take an opportunity to like dispel a stereotype. And so we would just leave little notes in the margins, and we would take the time on those Sundays. And there were other days when we wrote, and we would have those hard conversations. But when I read The Thread Collectors, I mean, there are a couple of scenes that stand out, and I'm like, oh, okay, I remember writing that word. But for the most part, I can't really tell anymore, like which words Allison came up with first or which words I came up with first. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That means it's you guys' work. And, oftentimes, I've published up to, I think, 30, 40 books at this point. Each author's voice is unique, So for you guys to accomplish what you did is just amazing, so that your voices melt together. So, and I congratulate you on that. Enjoyed it. So what were some of the challenge in co-authoring the story?
People love to ask us that. And it's funny, and there were definitely parts that were challenging for us to, definitely write. But as far as our friendship is concerned, because we were working in this format of like, nothing can be held back. If you don't feel something is right or you don't feel comfortable, we were, Shauna always would say, we're going to have brave conversations. We're not going to be afraid to hold back and say how we feel. So I really think that worked well for us during this, that we felt that if there was, as Shauna had mentioned, a scene that one of us saw maybe in a different way, we would always have a conversation about it. Like, well, how do you see it? And why do you see it that way? And then we would go into the scene and try and create it. I think there were definitely scenes where they were hard to write because we love the characters so much, and we didn't want to see these characters go through the pain that they had to go through or have the ending that they had. But our intention right from the beginning was that we were going to go dark as well as we were going to show light. We wanted this to be an historically accurate rendering of what living during the time of slavery was like. We wanted to show that love and the desire to protect your family was going to triumph, as much as it could during this, the situation of what was happening historically in the setting. But it didn't make it easier to write those scenes when our characters went through tremendous pain and suffering.
Right. That's awesome.
I will add that one thing that we spoke about a lot is it is a historical novel, and we wanted to be very careful about being factually accurate. Allison, this is her 8th published novel. I would say old hand, but she is young and vibrant. She is a seasoned hand with this. But for me, this is my first foray. So I was surprised about the amount of interesting historical facts that you want to bring to the reader, but you cannot because it's just going to bog the story down. So we did spend a lot of time thinking about the story craft itself and like, how do you bring in details when you want people to get swept up in the story? So for instance, our Jewish heroine, Lily, she is up in New York. And so we used her voice through letters to really give the reader a sense that there was, racism and anti-Semitism happening in the North, because a lot of times we're taught in school a very reductive view of the Civil War. North is good, South is bad. And we wanted that nuance, but like you can't have everything with every character, all 4 of the voices like yelling. So Allison had this great idea. So Lily in the beginning, she's writing these letters down to Jacob, and it's letting our readers know what life is like up north. And then in the latter part of the book, Lily roars to life. And it's those conversations that we had to have. We were like, oh my gosh, readers have to know about this because I can't believe that I didn't know about it. But how do you do it in a way where it's still an enjoyable book, right? All of us are on this this screen together tonight because we love to read, and no one wants to be lectured at. So like that's a fine balance to strike.
Absolutely. So I forgot my question. All right. I'm going to toss you over to Andrea while I think about the question that I was going to ask you, and I'll come back.
She's just going to toss you over to me. So
Yes.
actually, I'm going to pick up on what you were talking about, because one of my notes had to do with how do you go about making a book like this historically accurate? Because what goes into, I'm always just in awe of people who do historical novels, from that period, a particular period in time and place. How do you even go about getting that research together so that you know that it is historically accurate and you're not just putting something in there, to make the story flow better? You know what I'm saying? But it needs to be there so that you are accurately capturing what is really going on with your characters. Where does all of that come from? You know what I mean? I know that a lot of this had to do with conversations that you had with another generation, what you gained from them and learned from them. But tell us a little bit about that, because that always kind of frightens me. I don't want to be in a period and be talking about something that's just way, way off the mark, So share some of that with us.
Well, I think, one of the first seeds of inspiration for this novel was Ken Burns's documentary Death in the Civil War, which was on PBS. Right. So Sean and I had a conversation about that documentary, but actually as far back as in 2017. So when we actually came together to write about this book, to dream about this book, one of the things that we did is that we took note of who were the historians who were mentioned in that particular documentary. And there was a Black historian who, an academic, a professor at Columbia University that I know Shauna actually reached out to right away to say that we were thinking of, writing this novel together. And did she have a suggestion of books that we might read? And what did she, initially think about our idea for our book? And from that, original syllabus, I shouldn't say syllabus, but a list of books. We really tried to harvest a sense of setting and place from someone who is like a premier academic in her field. And I always do that with all my books. I always reach out to academics to sort of get guidance from the beginning of if they were going to suggest a way to enter this world so that we could really have a good understanding of it. What would their dream book list be? But another thing I think that is unique about this is that we had two people who were able to research, and it really made it as efficient as possible.
Okay.
For me, being very interested in the Jewish angle, I reached out to a foundation called the Chappelle Manuscript Foundation that basically tries to archive as much information about every Jewish soldier who fought in the Civil War, both on the Confederate and Union side. They actually had a will from my great uncle who was, on the Confederate side, where he basically disowned his brother who was on the Union side. So that was interesting. Oh, wow. And then Shauna can talk a lot about her research that she did down south.
Absolutely. So my mother and other family members still live in New Orleans. And of course, you always go and you pay respects to the Queen. So I would go home quite a bit. The historic New Orleans collection was fabulous. And I think maybe because it was the pandemic, people wanted something to do. There was a researcher there who was wonderful about pointing me to resources. Like I held letters from Civil War soldiers in my hands that were like stationed in Louisiana and were writing things back. So we could like see what they were feeling, what they were reporting. And we also detail the Battle of Port Hudson in the Thread Collectors. Mm-hmm. For people who are not familiar with it, it was a very important battle where Black soldiers were finally allowed to fight for their freedom, because traditionally Black soldiers were used really for demeaning labor, manual labor. They weren't given rifles and allowed to fight. So they wanted to prove their mettle. But because of poor reconnaissance, the Black soldiers were essentially led into a shooting gallery. And hundreds of them died. And it was really a tragedy, not only their death, but the way they were treated after death, because their bodies weren't collected right away. They laid there for weeks. Wow. I had never heard of Port Hudson, so I came across it in the research. It's 90 minutes away from where I grew up. So I got into a car with my husband and we went to Port Hudson, and we spent the day with the ranger. We walked the grounds. I looked at the type of trees that were there. And also, I think the thing that I have learned in this first foray is there is a little bit of homage that you have to pay to the people that have gone before you when you are using their stories. So these men that died there, a lot of their names have been lost to history. You don't want to just read about it. If you can, it's hard during the pandemic, you want to go to pay the appropriate amount of respect. So it was a blessing that I got to do that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I wanted to ask you too about these sisters. When you talk, both of you are kind of nodding, shaking your heads. Since both of you wrote from the standpoint of kind of having this skeleton that you then covered, how difficult was it to write the three sisters? Or did you find it difficult?
So the sisters...
Well, I think the three sisters really on as hard. So yeah.
Well, yeah. So I'm one of three sisters. Well, it's in our book, it's two sisters and their mother, Janie, but because Janie has had them young, it's almost like three women who are relatively close in age. The reason why the sisters are in there is not only because I always think it's interesting to detail relationships between women, but because I wanted to explore the idea of colorism. It's something that has really impacted my life. It's something that's rampant in the South, and unfortunately it's rampant across the United States. And we have our main Black heroine, Stella, and she is half Black, half white. And then we have her sister, Amine, who is fully Black. And Amine is essentially an enslaved person in her enslaved sister's home. So like she's, it's that level of kind of like difference of outcome and someone having more comfort, even though both of these women are going through horrible circumstances, but merely because of skin color is something that I think we still see playing out. These different fates that America provides according to your degree of white adjacency. And I wanted to talk about that, right? I wanted to acknowledge that and talk about it not only in that context, but explore how I have felt about it. If I put up my, my family photo right now, my two sisters look way more like Ruth than they do look like me. And that has at times, not from them, but from other people, has caused me pain. It has made me reflect on our relationship, my place in our family, and it was something that I wanted to put on the page.
Before I turn you over to Victoria, I do want to say that I commend you for the way that was written, because I know it is not an easy topic to talk about. Sometimes it's definitely not an easy topic to read about, and you could have done it in a way that the takeaway wasn't quite as quite palatable, if I can put it that way. You know what I'm saying? But I like the way that you wrote it. You brought light to it without burying it in a dark place. So I just thought that was very well done. I apologize for making Janie another sister.
No, that's okay. Janie is so young; she could be a sister, right?
But yeah, that I enjoyed that, and enjoyed the way Amine handled the situation, because I can't imagine, to be, as you put it, to be a slave in your enslaved sister's environment that way. But there is such strength. Not just in their relationship, but throughout the book with Lily and with her husband. And because these are difficult times from so many lenses. Right. But your characters are strong, and your characters really come through in a very compassionate and empathetic way, I think. And I really loved that. I really loved that about the book. So I'm going to turn you over to Victoria and let her.
Y'all go ahead. I'm good. But first of all, I have to say my iconic statement: get the book. Get the book. Yeah. Listeners and our viewers, get this book. Could you guys show a copy of the book?
Look, it's on audio too.
We all got our copy.
Okay, now, because of that, then you guys, our listeners and our followers, we love this book because we all have it and we could all show it. And when we went to your book signing, I was so impressed by the synergy between the two of you.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the three of us. We've written two short stories. And you guys have taken your voices together and produced a book that I couldn't tell where one begins and one ends. Mm-hmm. It is a beautiful story, and I am just in honor to know you and to have read the book and to have been in your presence and to have you on the show to talk about it, because the subject matter is still so relevant. And I thank you for that. I thank you for having the courage to take it on and full speed ahead. In my own family, immediate family, the issue of colorism has impacted my life as a child growing up. And I love the book, and I just want everybody to get it. You got to get it. How has the book been received? And we know it's doing really well on Amazon. So go ahead, tell us.
I mean, we feel the book is just starting to be like this snowball, which is what you want to happen. You know, it starts out small, but then people like you start talking about it, and then another person starts telling about it. And so right from the beginning, I said to Shauna, we want these little fires to, like the kindling, to ignite all around the country and to get people talking about it. And that is what's happening. I mean, the book came out August 30th, so it's not even like 6 months out. I'm very bad at math, so I probably have to do that on my fingers how long that is. But I think for, you know, Shauna and I, we have taken on like so many opportunities to speak in different communities around the country, like where we met you in Durham. And what we're hoping is that people will just start talking about it, bringing it to their book clubs, having conversations about it, you know, seeing what is relevant in today's world, you know, the parallels between things that we've written about that are historical, that are still, unfortunately, very much in today's headlines and part of our, the fabric of the United States. But, you know, we're hopeful it'll continue to build. You know, we would like to make it into a series where then that was one of the reasons why it doesn't end all wrapped up in a bow, is that Shauna and I have this dream to take our characters into Reconstruction and then possibly into the Harlem Renaissance.
Oh, awesome.
With their progeny, you know, always having this talent of music that emerges, having this bridge between the Kling family and, you know, Stella and William's family. And so it's our dream that this continues to grow and becomes even bigger. But we're just trying to just keep our intention pure and hope that, you know, readers follow, and just, you know, to stick to our guns, right, Shauna? And just, you know.
Absolutely. You know, I'll say this, and I don't mean for it to sound political at all, but we're in a time period where it's important to read for enjoyment. I love to read, but part of it, we also have to read for resistance right now, because there's such a fear about speaking the truth. So if people look at this book and they feel like they've learned something really important and they've enjoyed the story, then that's been, you know, a double win for us. I do think it's important to keep pushing books that don't allow us to turn away from things that happened. Not to make anyone feel badly about it, but it's history, it's real. And it's still, as you mentioned, very relevant to what happens today. Right.
I definitely see that in your guys' book. Tell our listeners and our viewers where they could find. Before that, Shauna, this was your first novel, correct?
Yes.
Do you have anything in the works that's just you?
So I have two ideas. One is a nonfiction idea, wearing like another hat, but then you know, it's interesting when you start talking to your family, little stories, they pop up. There's another one that I have in my mind that I've started doing some very light research. But once again, ladies, I have a day job. And
we understand.
And my husband just got on my health insurance. So I do have to keep the day job, but I am working on the side.
Awesome. That's great.
Yes, I'm maybe too blunt. I'm sure Allison's like, I don't know all your business.
No, I don't think it's a day job, because, you know, we get $1 a book, so, you know, it's like hard.
You ladies know you don't write to become a millionaire. You write because you love the work.
Absolutely.
You love to make stories, right? Well, my other question then is to Allison. How's it going on the what was the name of the book that is going to be the movie? Yes.
How is it going? So we have a director. We have a wonderful Hungarian director who just got political amnesty in America. He actually had to flee Hungary because of anti-Semitism. So, and his father and his grandfather survived Dachau. So he has a real deep connection to the material. He's living in Washington, D.C. right now, and he's finishing up a play that is Tony Kushner's Angels in America. So it should be a brilliant, wonderful play that he's doing down in DC. And then hopefully we'll be focusing on, The Lost Wife. And, one of the things about getting a movie from book to film, what I am learning, is that there's so many moving pieces that have to come together to get it before, once the camera starts rolling. I mean, the process of getting a book adapted to film first starts off with, just a regular film option when someone, producers or a studio reaches out to you and says, this would make a great movie.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean really very much, except that they're going to write you a check saying they think it will be a good movie, but it's not an enormous check. It's just a sense like this has potential. And then
Okay.
it goes into something called development, which is when they start really putting money behind it and they make a script and then they try and find a director. So we have a script and we have a director, but we then need to get it into production, which means like when, tens of millions can be involved with that and
Right,
getting
right.
around. So there's
Budget.
step then to getting to that. I'm in the middle step right now,
Okay.
and I'm further than an option, but I'm just trying to let the other people do their work with, the producers and the director and the casting director and see if it'll all come together. And then the process, while they're doing that, I'm working on a new book. Sean and I are working on another, project, that we hope that'll, come to life, and just trying to have a creative life and be a mom too.
Right. There's that.
Yes, and be grateful to be able to have a creative life. It's because women know it's not easy. Having a passion like this and trying to find support of something that you love, hoping people will follow. Right. So
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Oh, you guys are so wonderful. Please tell our listeners and viewers how they can get in touch with you and where can they find the book. Just enlighten us.
well, the book should be available probably at any major online seller, your independent bookstore, Barnes and Noble. If it's out of stock, please ask your local bookstore seller to order it, because it will come in just a day or two. And I can be found on Facebook, Allison Richmond -author. We have a website, thethreadcollectors.com, where you can find out more information about the book, book club questions. We even have Stella's Waltz on the landing page of our website, and for me, Instagram at Allison Richmond.
And for me, Facebook, Shauna J. Edwards, and then Instagram, Shauna J. Edwards. I will also say that in addition to being in hardcover, paperback, we also have, an Audible version, and we have a wonderful, wonderful narrator. She's a woman of color. And then we also have, of course, we have an e-reader version. So there is no excuse.
And there's a large print version.
We have large print. Your preferred option is out there. I told my mother I was like, you have no excuse. My mom's name is Stella too. I was like, Stella, you have no excuse. I sent you the original. I sent you a hardback. I sent you the offer.
Get the book. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Shauna and Allison, this has been a joy for us. We're so happy that your schedules allowed you to be here. I know it was a push for you, Allison. When I saw you pop up down there, I thought, oh, wonderful, wonderful. We do have both options. So I thank you just on behalf of Authors Up and our listeners and those folks who are in other countries who catch our broadcast. Just our best wishes to you. We are believing that this is going to be everything that you desire it to be.
Yes.
That this will be a dream that's realized, because there are many, many, like you say, you've provided many avenues for us to be able to enjoy it. And I think there are just as many, if not more, avenues out there for this to just build and grow and become whatever you desire it to become, because there's so much packed in it. There's so much packed in the characters. There's so much packed in their individual stories. I look forward to seeing how you will break it out and that it will become a series. I want to have, see Amine have her own story. I want to, see more about Jacob, or more, just whatever it is that you want to bring to us, because you are definitely experts at it. I will just put it that way. You have really found a way to collaborate. You really found a way to bring history to us and also bring us a story about some wonderful, wonderful characters.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And as Victoria says, get the book, guys. You got to get the book. You got to read it, got to hear it, got to do whatever you got to do to understand this story, because it really, really is a good one. It's really a good one. Ruth, do you have a final comment? I know that you do.
Of course. Well, we just want to thank all our audiences for listening or watching. If you have any comments, any questions, you're curious about how to come on our show, please email us at authorsup@gmail.com and follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. You can follow us. Just search for Authors Up Show. That's it.
All right. We've covered all of our bases tonight. I certainly think we have. And this won't be the last time we hear from you, I don't think, because it sounds like you've got some great things in the works. And when you complete them, when you're in the midst of them, when you're at any place in that journey that you would like to come back on and share with us, the invitation is open to you.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure for us. And again, Shauna and Allison, thank you for being a part of Authors Up this evening.
Yes.
Okay, guys, that is it for us. We're going to try to stay out of trouble all week long so that we can come back with you next Sunday night at 7 p.m. right here.
We're going to do it.
That's right. And again, as Ruth said, you need anything from us, contact us at authorsup@gmail.com. Until next time, have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week, 7
Good
p.m.
night, everybody. Good night, Bronze Girls.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.